Good morning. Good morning. For any of you that I have not met before, I'm Linda Hadley. I'm Dean of the Turner College of Business, and I want to welcome you to this presentation. As I think most of you know, we have this executive/entrepreneurship speaker series, and it's a way of ensuring that our students have an opportunity to hear firsthand from business executives and entrepreneurs. So we invite them to come in to sort of tell their story about their journey and their experience. And what we have found is we get really good feedback from students about hearing them speak about their own personal journeys and how they ended up where they are. They tend to, what I have gotten from students is that they enjoy that a lot more than specifically hearing all of the details. We have a few of them who will come and talk specifically about their companies, but the feedback that we've gotten from you is that you like to have entrepreneurs and executives who come in and sort of tell about their journey, the educational experience, what they did, whether they did well or not, or how they did, and then to go on and talk about the jobs that they had somewhere along the way. And so today, I think we have a real treat. We don't have quite as many entrepreneurs to come and speak to our students as we do executives, so we're really thrilled that we have two entrepreneurs. And what is great about it is that it's actually a couple. So it's Greg and Lori Auten. They are married to each other, and they are serial. Had to add that. And they are serial entrepreneurs. They are business owners, but I think that they have dabbled in business for a very long time and have had a series of businesses. So I think that they're going to offer a really good talk to you this morning about their own experiences. Lori has, well, I won't tell her. I won't give any more of an introduction. I'm taking time away from them. Let me just present Lori and Greg Auten.
Thank you. Well, thank you, everybody, and especially thank you, Dean Hadley, for inviting us. And I have to say, when Dean Hadley first asked us to do this, I'm thinking, what is it about our story that would be interesting? And so as I was thinking about it, I said, you know what, it's not necessarily our individual story, it's more about the collective small business story, and we're a part of that. And so Greg and I have been in business in one shape or another for about 30 years, maybe a little bit more. And over that time, we learned several important lessons, and so I thought I would kind of weave the lessons we've learned into our talk this morning. And so these lessons aren't just business lessons, they're also personal lessons that you can take away as you start your careers. And so, but to understand, well, first of all, we both grew up in families where our parents were in business. My parents, I grew up in North Georgia, up in the mountains, and my parents owned a small construction company. Now, Greg grew up in this area, and his history, his family history in business has a lot of, I think it relates very well to context of what we're going to talk about today. So I'm going to get the flipper, which I forgot. And so I was going to just ask you to maybe talk a little bit about your family and the history of your first career.
Sure, I'm glad to. Linda, thank you very much for the invitation. We appreciate it. And I like the introduction of, or like being a serial entrepreneur. Got to be a serial something, I guess. A serial. That's a good thing. But I just want to touch on a few things I did, and I'll try not to go into too much detail, but just basically from where I started in the family food service business up until I got out of that business. So we had a local company here, but to go back to the very beginning, if we want to start at the beginning, we're going to go all the way back to the late 1950s. And the picture right here is my grandfather, James Dent. That's my two uncles beside him. And my grandfather, James Dent, he started Dent Poultry Company in Buena Vista, Georgia, back in the late 50s. So the way you know that you've really made it in the poultry business is when you make the cover of Poultry Meat Magazine. You really made it in the business.
And that was 1973, I think.
Yeah, that was 73 then.
Yeah.
But back 58 is when he started. So that's how the family got into the, and before that, my grandfather worked for another poultry company before he started his own company. So he built and started a poultry processing plant in Buena Vista, Georgia. So that's how he got started. And then later, in 1965, my parents, Larry and Carol Auten, started Auten Poultry Company. So Auten Poultry Company was a poultry distribution company that was created in Columbus to be a distribution center for the fresh poultry that was coming out of Buena Vista, Georgia. So I do have the privilege to introduce my mother, Carol Auten. Raise your hand. So that's good. So my parents started the poultry business, and in 1980, I joined the family poultry business, and so I became third generation in the fresh poultry business. So.
Did you know I put that picture in there?
Yeah.
How old were you?
I started young.
You were.
So that was a really good mustache I had then too. So I started really young in 1980, but when I started with the company, I did basically every job imaginable. I got my CDL. I was a truck driver. I delivered fresh poultry all around the Columbus and Phoenix City area. I would, most every afternoon, I got the privilege of cleaning the chicken cooler every afternoon. That was fun. That's a dirty job, so you don't really want to try to do that if you don't have to. So I did a lot of different things, and after a few years of working in the business, I realized that we had a lot of good customers. We had a good product, we had a good fresh chicken, but that's all we had. So, I'm making deliveries, and I would go to a restaurant and I would unload 2 cases. I'd go to the next grocery store, I'd unload 5 cases. So we had a good business, but we only basically had one product. So I went to my father back in the early 80s, and I said, what if we expanded this business and turned it into a food service business? So fortunately, my father gave me the green light. Basically, if you want to expand into the food service business, you go right ahead. I'm going to keep doing what I'm doing. If you want to, basically start and build a different division of the company, you can do that. So that's really how we started getting involved in more food service items and not just fresh poultry. So that's basically where we started. So just want to go into, I guess, some lessons that I learned along the way as I was trying to grow this new food service division of Auten Poultry Company. So we can go to lesson 1. You got that one? Mm-hmm. All right, lesson 1 is have a growth mindset. And when I say have a growth mindset, that was something that's always been natural to me. I'm pretty competitive, so if I've got an opportunity to do something, I want to do it 100%. If I've got an opportunity to grow a business, I want to work hard, a lot of hours, and really grow a business. I want to be better than my competition. So that was kind of my mindset going in. So what I realized was, in my opinion, one of the fastest ways to build a business is through acquisitions. So I started looking at my competition. I started looking at products that I wish I could sell, that I could carry, that I could sell to my customers. So in 1984, we made our first acquisition. If you remember Weaver Foods, you remember that Weaver Foods. So
And that's Robert right there.
Yeah, that's Robert Weaver right there. So Robert was actually a customer of mine, and he was in the food service business. So we got to talking. He was buying some products from me. So, after a few months of talking, I ended up buying his company, and it was 3 people. It was Robert, it was his wife, and he had 1 truck driver. So all 3 of them came to work for me. I bought his truck, I bought his inventory. He was in a little rented building, so he moved into our building. So all of a sudden now I had 3 new employees. Robert became my first outside sales rep. We've never had an outside salesperson before. So now all of a sudden we're going down the path of being a food service company. So once again, remember now, I made this first acquisition when I was 20 years old. So a lot of people in this room are probably the same age. So, I didn't know what I was doing. I wasn't sure. I didn't have a blueprint. It was really hard in the 80s to Google how to start a food service company. Not a lot of information out there. So almost everything I did in my career was trial and error. We try it. If it didn't work, we try something else. So that's how I got started, really growing the business in 1984 was that first acquisition. 1987, that's an interesting year. 1987, I'm 23 years old, I had to go to my father and say, okay, this food service that I've been doing is really starting to take off. So I'm really, having some success with this food service. We've got to have another building. We're out of space. We had a little rented space, and we were just busting at the seams. So at 23 years old, I had to convince my father to borrow a bunch of money so we could build a new building. So that was a tough conversation. Didn't think it was going to go anywhere, but darn if he didn't agree to it. So I'm a little surprised at that, but it's like, we built a really nice multi-temperature. At the time, it was a state-of-the-art building. So we moved from our little rented space we had been in from, I guess, 1965 to 1987. And now all of a sudden we're in this large warehouse. And for the first time, now we've got a lot of debt. So now it got serious. It's really serious when you got to make a debt payment. So that was a big factor in 1987. Next several years, we just continued to grow. I would hire new salespeople. We would add more truck drivers. We would add more deliveries. We would add more products. So we just continued to grow. And in 1992, we changed the name to Auten Poultry and Food Service. You can go back. That's our. We just instead of being Auten Poultry Company, we changed the logo. And we added food service because at that point we were no longer just a fresh poultry company. We were basically a full-line food service company. So we changed the name.
Now, for you marketing students, the importance of consistent logo, right? You probably talk about branding in class. So the consistent logo, the brand, people seeing your trucks all over the Southeast.
That was really interesting comment because we had just plain white trucks, had a little bitty thing on here that said Auten Poultry and Food Service. And then all of a sudden we said, let's spend the money to put our brand out there. And all of a sudden overnight, people, I see your trucks everywhere. I see your trucks everywhere. It's like, it wasn't that expensive to do as far as marketing is concerned, but boy, we got people recognize us all over the Southeast.
The ROI.
So
the ROI was very, very good.
So let's fast forward to 1994.
Yeah.
Let's see. No, let's go back 93.
Okay.
1993.
Starting to grow.
Yep, 1993. My father decided that I was going to become president of the company. So I was 30 years old at the time. So my father took the role of chairman and kind of got out of the day-to-day business, and I took over as president of the company. So the next year in 94, I made a real tough decision to make another acquisition. It was a local company called Valley Fruit and Produce. So at that time, we didn't sell produce, sold a little bit of fruit, really no fruit, no produce. So I bought a company that was really big in the fruit and produce industry, and we merged that business in with our business. So that was a big move because it was a pretty large company, and it actually doubled our customer base. So overnight, we doubled our customer base. We just about doubled our products that we delivered. And looking back at that, I can say that was the toughest thing I ever did. It's one of those in business, it's really smart to create a good plan. And then if you can execute that plan, things work out so much smoother. So we had a 6-month plan to merge this business into our business. And at the same time, I was adding on space in my warehouse to accommodate this new business. Well, it turns out we had to execute that plan about 3 months premature. So all of a sudden now, I'm working out of 2 warehouses. I've got 2 separate computer systems that don't talk to each other. I know very little about fresh produce. I'm trying to learn the fresh produce business. But there were many months there that we were working. We would go in at 6 a.m. and we were still there at 9 p.m. that night, just trying to get all this handled. And it was an interesting time, but it was very, very difficult. Going to my 3rd acquisition, 1996, and as you see, that's kind of a theme. My growth theme was we grow organically by adding customers and salespeople, but the acquisition is what really got us to do a sales chart like this. This is like what I was considering normal growth. This was our accelerated growth. Because I really, once again, if I'm going to do it, I really want to do it. So, if we're going to be there, let's grow it. So in 1996, I bought a company called Gentry Foods out of Marietta, Georgia, and they were a fresh poultry distributor. So that was really an easy one for me. I already knew fresh poultry. We already had the products, but they were based out of Marietta, so they had a lot of Atlanta customers. So all of a sudden overnight, we picked up all these new Atlanta customers, and that was about $4 million worth of sales. So that was a big jump for us in 96. And then quickly going to our fourth acquisition, 2004, there was a little company here called Albert Poultry Company. And when we were renting our space in the farmer's market down in South Columbus, right next door was our competitor. When I say next door, they were from here to that wall. So we were the only two fresh poultry distributors in Columbus. We'd sit here and look at each other all day and kind of make faces at each other. And super nice family. But I started working on that acquisition probably 15 years in the making. So every time I would run into her name was Connie, I'd say, Connie, when you're ready to retire and you want to sell your company, let me know, I'd like to buy it. So I said that probably 2 or 3 times a year for 15 years. And one day I answered the phone and she said, I'm ready. That was like on a Monday morning, she said, I'm ready. We had the deal closed by Friday. It was one of those, I had planned on it. It was, once again, fresh poultry. I know that business, so that was an easy acquisition. And it's like, I sent a crew over there, we put up all our stuff and we brought it back to our building, and it was, but I guess the story behind that is being persistent, because that's one of those that many of these acquisitions I made, it wasn't like, hey, do you want to sell your business? No, I'm not. Okay, I'll never talk to you again. It's persistence. If you want to make an acquisition, it's like, number one, I've got to convince you why it's good for both of us, and then I just got to keep asking. You can't take no for an answer once and then not go back. You just got to keep working on it, So some of these, like I said, the last one, 2004, took 15 years before I was able to convince somebody. So just run through the numbers real quick. By the end of 2004, we had 145 employees, had 32 trucks, 2,000 customers, 5,000 products, and we're now delivering products to 6 different southern states. We're in 6 different states. And our sales peaked out at $60 million in 2004. So really, really a good year for us. So that brings us to lesson number 2.
This is a biggie. This is one that most entrepreneurs don't think about, isn't it? Sorry for the poor quality, but we had this framed.
It's a picture of a picture.
Yeah, it's a picture of a picture of a picture.
That was an article that the Columbus Ledger did many, many years ago. So in June of 2005, I sold the company to Glover Wholesale Company that was based out of Americus, Georgia. So that was interesting because, once again, the owner of Glover, David Harris, he called me every year. Every January he called me. Every January we'd have lunch together. And the conversation was, you want to sell your business? I said, no. I said, you want to sell your business? He said, no. All right, let's eat. And he said, yeah. He said, you want to merge your businesses? I said, well, how would that work? He said, we'll be 50-50 partners. I said, who's going to be the boss? He said, I am. I said, no, I am. So it's like, well, I need 51%. He said, I'm not going to do 51. I said, well, I'm not going to do 49. So, and then let's eat. So we did that for 5 years. So every time we met, my goal was to buy Glover, and that was going to be a huge acquisition. But it's like, that was my goal. That was the big one out there that I wanted to buy. So after, in January of 2005, we met, and it's like, what we really decided at that meeting was, at that point in Columbus, Georgia, there were 2 food service distributors left, because I had purchased several and Glover had purchased several. So there's 2 food service companies left. And the way it works is I'd back up my truck to a restaurant and I'd unload 10 boxes. He'd back up his truck to a restaurant, he'd unload 10 boxes. So we've got 2 of us here delivering the same products to the same customers in Columbus, Georgia and surrounding area. So what would happen is the customer would ask me, what's your price on a bag of sugar? It's $15. I said, well, Glover's $14.99. Well, I'm $14.98 then. And then tomorrow, Glover's $14.97. So during that 2005 meeting, it's like, you know what, we can sit here, continue to grow, and we can just beat each other to death out there in the street, and we can just cut our margins, or what really makes sense is we need to put these 2 companies together. So there was no doubt at that meeting, January 2005, that these 2 companies need to come together. We were never going to agree who was going to be the boss. We're never going to agree who's going to run it. So I made the comment, I think I was kidding at the time, quite honestly. I made the comment, I said, well, you just need to buy me out there. He said, okay, I'll do it. It's like, whoa. So I went to that meeting thinking I was going to buy a company, ended up selling a company. So it's just interesting how things work, and that's kind of that's kind of the way business works, is you got to be at the right place at the right time, and you got to be prepared to take advantages of opportunities when they arise. So anyway, after a lot of work, I ended up selling the company, and I stayed with Glover Food Service for 2.5 years. So from June of 2005 to the end of 2007, I worked for Glover Food Service as vice president out of the Columbus warehouse, and we were operating as Glover Auten Foods, as you can see. So it was really difficult to put the two companies together. Because one thing you got to remember, I trained all my employees to dislike Glover. And they trained all their employees to dislike Auten. So now all of a sudden, it's like, remember I told you these people we don't like and we don't like at all? Well, now we like them because now they're family. So now we had to put these two companies together. So that just differences in culture and in the way we operate our businesses and the different personalities. But I hung around for 2.5 years, and it was interesting putting the two companies together.
Greg, one thing I remember is that Glover agreed to keep all of the Auten employees, and that was something that was very important
that was one of my
to you.
requirements. There was one employee, I won't say any names. There were several employees that I had hired away from Glover through the years, and they had hired a few of mine, so that's a little hard feelings there. But I had one employee that they absolutely not going to take. I'll take everybody that works for you except for this one person. And that one person was a key person. Wow. And I stole that person from Glover, and they took it personal. So anyway, after a lot of negotiation, we ended up bringing that person on board, and he did an absolute great job for Glover Auten Foods. So that was a win for everybody. But I had to do a lot of talking. So I'll take everybody but this person. So anyway, when I left in 2007, Glover now was doing $107 million out of Columbus, Georgia, and we were the 49th largest food company in the country. There's a list that they print out every day or every year. It was a ID Top 50. So there's a list of the top 50 food service distributors in the country, and I always wanted to get on that list. And at the very end of my career, with the acquisition and putting the two companies together, we finally made that top 50 list. So January 1, 2008, I'm 44 years old, and I am now retired. So what's next? So, all of our life growing up, people say, well, what are you trying to do? Well, I'm trying to, as a business owner, you try to grow your business, you hope to sell it one day, and it's like, what's retirement look like? Well, that's the picture people have in their head. It's like, I want to be on the beach, I want a cold drink in my hand. So it's like, okay, now I'm retired. Unfortunately, Lori's still, her career. Well, it's not unfortunately, but.
Maybe it depends on how you look at it.
This was going to be tough right here, just being up there. That was going to be tough. But it was really, and that's something I tell business owners is, my identity all my life was being the food service guy, being the chicken guy. And all of a sudden, I was no longer that identity. So it's like, wow, what do I do now? I mean, I'm used to working 60 hours a week. And now I wake up and I don't have a job, and I'm, it's like, but I'm 44 years old. I'm not quite ready to retire yet. So it's like, I got to find something new to do. So I'll turn it over to you and let you go to the next chapter.
Well, and like you said, and wasn't that an interesting history? I know, and that's why we wanted to spend some time on it. And we do have more chapters, and so meanwhile, I'd been spending my career with the University of Georgia Small Business Development Center. How many of you know of the SBDC? Wonderful resource the SBDC is. And so I'd spent 16 years of my career working with small businesses, helping them grow. I mean, work with thousands of businesses, marketing, human resources, strategic planning, finance, all kinds of different things. And so some other things happen that we'll go into in just a moment. Greg did find that next chapter, and we kind of found it together. But I wasn't quite ready to leave the SBDC until 2012. And then when I did decide to leave, I knew that I wanted to keep doing something similar to what I was doing. So I took the pieces I love best from the SBDC, and I started my own company, Focus Consulting Group. And so in that company, I became a credentialed professional coach, and I offer facilitation, coaching, strategic planning, all kinds of organizational development, leadership development training. But along the way, back in about probably 2008, I decided I needed to, and keep in mind 2008 is the year after Greg retired, right, in 2007. I'd met a very successful business owner over in Thomaston, Georgia. He was in the tire business, and he was getting out of the tire business and into the car wash business. But he wasn't getting into just any old car wash business. This was 2008, and it was the express wash that you know now is Goo Goo and some of the others was brand new. And Scott, our partner, was getting into that. He had also been named, 2009, he was named the SBA Small Business Person of the Year for Georgia. But I just knew somehow Scott was looking to grow, and I knew Greg was looking for a place to put his energy. And so we had dinner together. And probably one of the most serendipitous kind of things that could have happened. And so when we had dinner that night, first time you'd met Scott,
Right.
What were your initial thoughts about Scott? Because he becomes a big part of our story.
Well, just real quick, January 1 of 2008, when I was looking for something to do, my first thought was, and this comes from talking to a lot of entrepreneurs in this area, is get in the real estate business. Because up till 2008, I've met all these entrepreneurs. It's like, they buy property, commercial property, develop property, and it's like they always were making good money. So end of 2007, 2008, I dipped my toe in the commercial real estate business. Then the fall of 2008, the world came to an end. So best I can tell, and maybe I'm wrong, up to fall of 2008, when you bought a piece of property, it went up in value. Any piece of property you owned prior to the fall of 2008 was worthless. So I played around in that for a little bit, and I realized quickly that I don't need to be in the real estate business. I don't want to be in the real estate business. So going back to meeting Scott, so I'm still looking for what my next chapter is going to be. I had a lot of energy. I really wanted to do something different. I did the food service business. I was out of that. So we met Scott, and Scott said one thing to me, and I don't know if I've ever heard this from another business owner, but I asked Scott, he had sold his tire store, he's getting in this new car wash model, and he said, I absolutely love what I do. How many people have heard a business owner say, I absolutely love what I do? I never said that when I was in the food service business. I did it. I had good days, had bad days. It was a good business. But I can't ever say I woke up any day saying, I absolutely can't wait to go do food service today. But Scott says, I love the car wash business. So that caught my ear, and it's like, well, maybe that's something I would enjoy. But that's kind of how the conversation started.
And the other piece of that was Scott was kind of like you. He had that growth mindset, and so he was looking for ways to grow the business more than he had capacity to grow it. And so the idea between the two of you came about, well, what if we invest in a tidal wave and build?
Scott had several tidal waves that he owned himself. He didn't have any investors, and it's like, well, I'd like to come in as an investor and work with you to do a tidal wave of our own. So that's how the conversation went.
And so by October of 2010, go ahead.
So October 2010, we opened our first tidal wave wash, which was not owned by Scott. It was owned by an investor, us. And at that time, Milledgeville did not have an express wash. And people in Milledgeville didn't really know what an express wash was. Express wash is basically 3 minutes. You go through a gate, you pay, you go through the tunnel, you got free vacuums after you're done. That's basically the express wash model. You're in, you're out, you get a good wash, you get free vacuums, and you go. So this was new. It was certainly new to us, and it was a new concept for Milledgeville, but I absolutely knew that I really enjoyed the whole process of getting into this business. And I really enjoyed working with Scott. And that's something I realized after I got out of the food service business, whatever I do next, I would love to be able to say, hey, I really love what I do. And I can say today, I really love what I do. I say the same thing that Scott says. I love being in the car wash business. But I really wanted to work with people that I could trust and people that I really got excited to be around. And Scott kind of fit that, and we were a lot alike, had a lot of the same values, and that's why I just felt like that was a good partnership for us.
And something else that we did, and every time we go into a market, we want to make sure that our competitive advantage, who knows what your competitive advantage is? What's your competitive advantage? What does that mean?
What you can offer that your counterparts cannot.
That's right. It's something you do, only you do, that nobody else does. And so in Milledgeville, our competitive advantage was we were doing club plans where you join the wash club for one fee and you get our top wash, unlimited top wash. You could come every day if you wanted to and wash your car. I mean, it's really a no-brainer if you like to wash your car.
That's in 2010, I don't think there was any car wash in Georgia offering the club plans.
Right. Now you see them. The competition's catching up. But then it was new, and so that was our
unique.
So we knew kind of quickly, within a few months, that this was something we wanted to do again.
Yeah. So we knew, by 2011, it's like, hey, we like this business. This has been successful. We would like to continue and do more.
Okay. And so.
Well,
I forgot I had that slide in there. Yeah.
So this was our competitive advantage right here.
Yeah.
We're going to offer you as a customer unlimited happiness.
That's right.
So for one low fee, you can wash your car every day.
So remember the old.
Most of you in here would say, who in the heck has time to wash a car every day? And I would say a good chunk of people wash their car. Absolutely. And it's interesting because we open at 8 a.m. and usually it's the same person in the same car at the same time every single day.
In the same clean car.
Yeah, when the car rolls in, you don't know if it just came out of the tunnel or if it's been in yet. Because the car comes in, the tires are shining, it's spotless, and they come in with their cup of coffee and said, hey, good to see you. I mean, it's almost like a social interaction.
And that's the old thing, the discussion about features and benefits. A lot of us try to sell our company based on the features. Well, we want to sell the benefits, the experience. And so let's talk about Florence.
All right. So our second wash opened April 2014, Florence, South Carolina. Another market, a nice medium-sized market that did not have an express car wash. People there really didn't know what an express car wash was. So we opened up our second location, and every time we open a new location, we try to do something different, and like you said, the competitive advantage. Well, the one thing we did here differently, the first time that's been done in Tidal Wave, is in Milledgeville, we had a $5 wash, a 10, and a 15. We went here, we took away our $5 wash. We started at $10.
Hadn't been done at any express wash in Georgia.
So we immediately became the most expensive entry-level car wash around. So it's like, okay.
It was terrifying.
It was terrifying.
Yeah.
The good news is if we needed to, we'd go back and we had that $5 in the bottom, we have to. But the test was, can we get people to pay $10 for an express car wash?
Was that kind of in the mentality of setting yourself apart in the higher quality cost a little more? And
you'll hear us say that we try to compare ourselves to Chick-fil-A. So Chick-fil-A is going to charge you $3.50 for a chicken sandwich. Can anybody name what's on Chick-fil-A's dollar menu? They don't have a dollar
menu.
So Chick-fil-A as a business says, to give you a product that we're happy with, we've got to charge you $3.50. That's our base product, $3.50. So what we decided is I can give you a $5 car wash, but to do that, I've got a 120-foot tunnel with all kinds of equipment in it. So I got to start turning stuff off. I got to turn off the soap. I got to turn off the blowers. I got to turn off the lights. I can do all that and give you a $5 car wash, but I'm not happy with it. You're probably not going to be happy with it. So why don't we try to make our entry-level wash? So we didn't take our $5 wash and increase it to 10. We just did away with the $5 wash and we made our 10 better. So for $10, you're getting tire shine, you're getting Rain-X, you're getting the whole treatment, and that was something that we were really proud of. So if you came through this tunnel, you got a really, really good wash, but it was $10. So the good news is we opened day one, we had traffic backed out to the road, and every day after that, we had traffic backed out to the road.
Right.
So that was an experiment that worked for us.
So let's because we come back to Florence in a minute, so let's talk a little bit about our third wash in Summerville, South Carolina. That's a little bit north of Charleston.
So what we did different here, number one, they wouldn't let us do stacked stone, city ordinance, so we had to go brick, no big deal. So what we did here is for the first time, we opened up the express wash and we built a second building with a detail center. So that's the first time Tidal Wave ever did interior detail. So that opens up another whole interesting concept. So we knew as an express wash, there's X amount of people that are only going to go to a wash that vacuums their car. You know, whether that's 10 or 20% of the population, whatever. So we know as an express wash, we miss washes. Well, let's go try to capture 100% of the car wash business and do the interior. Now, what's interesting, particularly in the labor market, is I can run this with 4 people. It takes me 10 or 12 people inside here to do interior. So if you think it's hard to find 4 people that want to work, now we got to find 16 people that want to work. So that was a big dynamic, trying to find more people willing to show up every day and clean the interior of the car. So we tried that model. It's a good model. It still is operating as we call it a flex serve that does express and interior. But that was kind of our new trial and error at this wash.
It takes more space too. I mean, we don't always have the land to do it.
A lot of times your lot's so small you can't do it, but that one we had a big enough lot to do it.
So then we circle back to Florence, and this is interesting because it may be counterintuitive. Why would you open up another wash in a market where you already are?
You have too much business.
Well, like I told you, we had cars backed up to the road every day. So the question is, if you've got a successful product or successful business that's backed up every day, that's good, you're making money. So now if I'm going to go pay all this money and expense to open up a second one, I don't want to open up a second one and split the business. So that's your first worry, is if you split the business and all of a sudden there's not a line over here and there's not a line over here, now I've got double the expense, double the cost, and I'm still washing the same amount of cars. So that was our fear. But we opened our second wash, 2016, and we still had lines at the other wash. Now we got lines at the new wash. So people ask me about this and say, how do you go into a market of 50,000 people that are obviously washing their car or somehow taking care of their car and do, 1,000 washes on a Saturday? Where did that business come from? And my answer is, we create car wash business.
Have you guys heard of Blue Ocean strategy? Has anybody heard of that? Okay, Blue Ocean strategy is when you go in and you create demand. The red ocean is where everybody's swimming. But Blue Ocean is when you go in and you create demand, which was the beautiful thing about the express car wash model.
What I found out is the only other wash in this town was a full serve. So the full serve, you would pull up there in a line, you would get out of your car, and you'd go sit in the bad waiting room with a bunch of weird people, and you would sit there for 45 minutes while your car. So who has 45 minutes to wash their car? So people that were washing their car once a month, let's say, for 45 minutes, they're coming through here 2-3 times a week. So that's where we created the business, was we made it so easy, so convenient, and affordable. Now you can shoot through here. If you got 5 minutes to spare, you shoot through here and you got a clean car. So that's kind of how we created more business in this market. And this has fortunately been a success story to open 2. They're only 3.5 miles apart. Most people in business, they do not open a second location 3.5 miles from your first location. But it turned out that this was the busy intersection. Actually, there was an old Hardee's building on there that had closed, so we tore the Hardee's building down, and now it's a car wash. But that has been successful for us.
So let's move on through the last 2, and then we've got some more lessons we want to do. So what was our 5th wash?
5th wash, Tacoola, Georgia. Same thing, but back to our express model. As you'll hear, we have not tried another flex serve with the interior detail. I won't say we dislike that business model, but it's challenging, particularly in this labor market. It's all we can do to find labor for what we've got. So open this up. It was this is a successful wash. It hasn't been open that long, but a good community, good area, and really no competition nearby. So
okay. Number 6.
South Carolina, last April. So this was an interesting one. Beaufort, South Carolina, nice coastal town, beautiful area. We really fought hard for this one. So we found a piece of property. We go sit down, and this is a long story, but we sit down with the city, and when you sit down with city planners, here's your list of things you got to do, city planners. So we had to leave all these pretty oak trees. They are beautiful oak trees, but now we got to fit a car wash underneath oak trees. So that was challenging. They also, the city ordinance, if you're standing at the main road, they don't want anybody to see you vacuuming. That's their ordinance. We don't want to see people vacuuming. So we had to build a structure And for a while, I called it a bus stop because that's what it looked like. So I had to spend this money. To build a
Pedestrian building.
Pedestrian building, we called it. This doesn't serve any purpose for the community. It doesn't serve any purpose for the car wash. So we had this big, ugly building there. So we hired a local artist, a well-known local artist, to paint us a mural on it.
So he painted on both sides.
Yeah, both sides. So we turned a eyesore, in our opinion, into a nice piece of art. So now when you ride by, now we capture everybody's attention when they see this mural. And we got a real nice write-up in the paper. So
Yeah, a lot of good press.
So basically we just turned something that we had to do that we weren't excited about into a focal point. So.
Yeah, so that's been, yeah. So I guess you can see we're in the car wash business now. That is the next chapter. And so I want to kind of transition now into our third lesson is know your why. Know your purpose. If I were to ask you guys, how many of you know what your why is? What's your purpose? It is so important to know what drives you, what gets you out of bed in the morning, what it is. And your why is usually bigger than you, and it's always bigger than whatever business you're in. And so, of course, ours is family. And just by the way, our daughter is here. Alston Lyle is here. She's an attorney. This is her pre-attorney days.
That's possible.
And but you're still pre-attorney. And so she has a local, her own law firm here locally, business law. And so family is definitely our why. But there's more to it. I have my own personal purpose. Greg has his, and I've always joked with him, his purpose is to take something and make it better. I mean, it's simple. He'll tell you it's to take something and make it better. And you see it in his food service. You see it with Tidal Wave. Scott, our partner, would tell you if he was standing here, Greg has absolutely fundamentally made Tidal Wave better. He also tries it with me to try to take me and make me better, and still a work in progress. And so, but my purpose is I want to be able to work with people and develop people. I want to see their potential, and I want to be able to do whatever I do needs to make a difference with people. And so we're able to do that in this business in our own way. Now, the third piece of this is that the company, our partner, all of our partners, are purpose-driven. You'll see this picture right here. This is our partner's son, Justice, has cerebral palsy. And Scott's mission, and you can see it in everything he does, is to create quality of life for Justice. And it really transcends that because his mission has become to improve quality of life for anybody with special needs. And so every third Friday in September, we call it Charity Day. We donate all proceeds, all sales, every dime to special needs charities.
All those 32 tidal waves, so all 32 tidal waves we donate.
All made. So far, since we've been doing this, donated over $500,000 to special needs charities in the community in which the wash is located. And so the other piece with me that ties into my why is I'm currently working to establish Tidal Wave University. Have you ever heard of Hamburger University at McDonald's? So we're establishing Tidal Wave University, and I'm kind of heading that up. And so I'm going down this weekend to train 16 of our site leaders down in Fort Lauderdale. They'll already be at Car Wash College, which is done through our equipment manufacturer, but we're going to spend 2 days working on leadership, which is it's what drives me. You know, your why is something that you would almost do for free. You'd almost do if nobody paid you. And so I challenge you, if you don't know your why, I challenge you to go out and figure out what that is, because as you look for jobs and you look for companies that you're compatible with, that's one way that you know.
And I'm going on this trip as well, and while she's teaching,
And your retirement drink company.
No.
I'm going to be over here at Sonny's, and I'm going to be over there at the equipment manufacturer, and we're going to be trying to see how we can improve the equipment in the car wash industry. So that's more of the way my brain works is, here's this piece of equipment, we can make it better. So we're going to figure out how to make it better while you train all our site leaders.
I need to make a difference with people, and you need to make it better. And we're both, but that's the beauty of, we're laughing about, that's the beauty of this. We're both able to work in our passion. When people work in their passion, they're happier, they're more productive, and they're more engaged. So lesson number 4, natural progression, I guess, people matter. And these are some of our team members. Tidal Wave does such a fabulous job of putting our team members first, developing the people. And what's so great is I can spot 3 people up here who started as entry-level employees and who now run their own site. And we model after Chick-fil-A owner-operator, so site leaders run their sites like it's a small business, and they share in the profit.
Their people,
right.
They do all their P&Ls. They're responsible for everything that happens at the car wash. So, and then we have a really aggressive profit sharing. Yeah, a quick story on that. We have a profit sharing program, so the site leader who runs the wash gets a percentage of the profit. So I had a site leader call me one day, and they said, I think we need to get the billboard across the street to advertise. I said, well, how much is it? It says $1,000. I said, okay. I said, if you think it will drive business, I said, well, you know, that's $500 out of my pocket and $500 out of your pocket. He said, you know what, we may want to hold off on that billboard. So the story there is when he thought it was my money that was going to spend the billboard, it was a great idea. But when it's a 50-50 split and all of a sudden he becomes a business owner himself, it's like, I don't know if that $500 is a good investment or not. So that's what we try to do, is we try to educate our site leaders on being business owners. This is your business. You're here every day. You're responsible for whether it makes money or not. So that's just part of our Tidal Wave management that I think is really creating some really good leaders.
Again, Josh here is our site leader in Beaufort. Started as an assistant site leader in Florence. When Beaufort opened, he had the opportunity to move to Beaufort to be the site leader. This young lady, Cameron, have no doubt she's going to be a site leader one day and have her own site. So people matter. So this wouldn't be complete if we didn't talk about
Back to the numbers.
What our plan is.
I'm more of a numbers person. So here's our 2010 first wash, and here's my projected 2027 with 25 washes. So that's the path we're on now. And you know, it's based on opening 2 new washes a year. And people ask us all the time, how many washes do you want to own? It's like, as many as the bank will loan me money to build. So I'm just gonna keep going. Plus, I really enjoy it. If I hated this, I wouldn't continue to do it, but I really enjoy this. And so it's kind of, to me, it comes back to the food service business. That's what I'm used to. That's what drives me. That's what gets me up, is growing the business. And I told somebody the other day, it's like, I've never done a resume. I've never been hired. I've never been fired. I've never interviewed for a job. So when I was younger, my father says, you get to work, so I got to work. I don't think that was a formal interview or a hiring process. When I sold my company, part of the sale was you need to stay for 2.5 years to, you know, transition. So I don't think that was really, didn't interview for that job. And then we started with Tidal Wave, and we're still our own, you know, business owners. So it's really an interesting story that's really all I know is creating our own businesses and running our own businesses, and that's, you know, that's probably a unique experience, but that's my experience, so that's what I know.
I thought I had fired you before.
You threatened to fire me.
Oh, okay. So you kind of know what it feels like. So lesson number 5, your brand is the entire experience that your customer has with your company. And so if you think about a Chick-fil-A, or you think about another brand that you really like, it's not just the colors in their logo or their signage or their store. It's really the entire experience that you have with that company, their website, you know, when you go in and you experience the product, when it's after the sale, the whole thing. And so if you drop the ball in any of those areas, you kind of ding your brand, don't you? And so the lesson here, it's a great business lesson, but it's also a lesson for you personally, because I think our personal brand is the entire experience that people have with us. And so, you know, what you take and offer in the marketplace is your own personal brand. And so just remember, it's the entire experience. So what's next? We got to wrap it up, but what's...
Yeah, well, right now, we've got 4 washes under construction. We've got 2 here in Columbus, and we have 2 under construction in the Houston, Texas area. So, and we've also got a 5th location we've got under contract, and we're working in Charleston, South Carolina. So,
Go big or go home.
yeah, you know, we're here now, we're growing, we're just going to keep it going. You know, if we can find the right property and we feel like it's a good market, we're just going to continue to grow. So that's, you know, you saw the chart, that's our plan. And unless something changes, we're going to keep, you know, going toward that plan.
Anything else you can think of? Do you want to add?
Go back one slide.
Okay.
One quick thing. So this right here.
You want to go with that one? Okay.
Part of our interview process, and I think what really is a big advantage for our company is, and during the interview process, I'll ask Linda, let me see your teeth. That's what I'm looking for. So if you look at these pictures, part of our interview is, let me see your teeth. It's like, do that every day. We want to see your teeth every day. So when you go to Chick-fil-A, what is the experience? You know, can I have some extra ketchup? That's my pleasure. Or is the experience, can I have some extra ketchup? That'd be 25 cents. So that's, you know, same question, 2 different businesses.
2 different experiences.
2 different experiences. So we're trying to create a Chick-fil-A experience in our car wash versus, hey, we just wash your car.
And nobody does it better than this young lady right here. She started out as an assistant site leader, then she got her own site. She was the first site leader at our 2nd Florence, and now she is actually the super trainer over all of training all of the employees, all the new employees, and opening all new washes.
I've never met anybody that has that much passion and that much energy.
She's awesome. We'd like to replicate her.
If I had another dozen of her, we would be great.
Why don't we stop there and take some questions? Linda, we have a few minutes, maybe?
Yes.
Okay.
Can you tell us a little bit about how you mentioned South Carolina, you started in Milledgeville, but then you went to South Carolina and now Texas. So how do you decide where you're going?
The most common question we get.
Question all the time.
We should have answered
What in
it.
the world are you doing in Texas? There's opportunity there, so I'm looking at Texas. But, you know, just going back to our South Carolina, you know, you Google South Carolina, list every city that has more than 30,000 people. All right, I got 10. So now it's like, I've never heard of Beaufort, South Carolina, okay? You know, what's the population in a 10-mile area? What's our competition look like? So basically, I spend hours and hours at my desk, and I can get all this information. I've got traffic counts, I got the demographics, I know the average age, I know the average income, I know, you know, how many cars cross this intersection every day. So I can basically build a model that's, okay, this is a good market for a car wash. Now, how many competitors do I have? If I find a good area and competition's 10 miles away, light bulb goes off. It's like, we need a tidal wave there. We got 35,000 cars a day going by this intersection, and the closest express wash is 10 miles. I'm all over that.
And you're near a new Chick-fil-A, you're near a new Starbucks.
Yeah.
Same.
Yeah, the perfect world is I'm in an out parcel in front of Walmart. I got a Chick-fil-A on this side, and I got a Starbucks on this side. That's our perfect world. Perfect world. That's our customer right there. So that's what we do. We spend a lot of time, and then once we find out, okay, this looks like a good opportunity, then I get in the car and I drive over there, and I sit there and do traffic counts and talk to people.
We flew to Houston, though.
We flew to Houston. That was too far to drive. So that really works for any market.
Yeah.
But it's good
Yes, sir.
question.
Who's your biggest competitor?
It really is market by market. There's a few big competitors. Goo recently sold last year to a big international company that's got like 1,000 car washes. They're huge. They're the largest car wash operator in the world. There's another car wash chain called Mr. Car Wash, and they're the largest in the United States. So, you know, in Columbus, you know, it's going to be Goo. In this market, it may be Frank's Car Wash. So every market has different competitors. So I really can't say there's one main competitor. It's not like a McDonald's that's on every corner in every market. A lot of the markets now are kind of specific to certain, you know, local brand.
What's your value proposition versus Google?
Great question.
Go ahead, you answer that.
Well, I think our value proposition against Google is, one, we have equipment that Gugu doesn't have. We have the buff and drive top wheel, we have the Simonized hot wax, and we have something new called the ceramic gloss, which actually puts a paint protectant and actually makes the dirt fall off over time. It builds up, makes the dirt not stick to your car, and so we'll see how much we love that, because we want your car to be dirty, let's be honest. Not sure that makes sense.
If you keep your car clean for 30 days, then that's not good for us.
Well, I mean, it is, because they keep coming back. You already said you had that plan.
Yeah, I need you to come back more than every 30 days.
Well, they gonna get that next month.
Now, if you buy the monthly club plan, then you can come once a month. If you don't say that's not good.
Yeah.
But that really, I think it comes back to when we build a tidal wave, it's 134 foot long of equipment versus Gugu's 90 to 100 feet. So we've got a lot more equipment. So
you get a cleaner, drier.
Yeah, I mean, quite honestly, when you're halfway through a tidal wave tunnel, your car's clean. And at that point, we just keep washing the clean car, because there's about 5 or 10%. There's still a few bugs left. There's still a little dirt. So we just clean it and then we clean it again. So we kind of overkill it. And that's kind of, there again, it comes back to our competitive advantage.
Well, and here's the other piece of that, though, is our partner Scott is a chemical engineer, Georgia Tech educated chemical engineer. And so he has a particular way that he mixes the detergents that makes the car shinier, drier, and cleaner.
It's our secret sauce.
It's our secret sauce, and I can't say any more than that. I've said too much.
That's right.
So those two things. Thank you for that question. I love answering that question.
Are you doing any acquisitions of other car washes and, say, tearing it down and replacing it with your?
We have. The problem we find with existing car washes is they're generally not in the area that we want to be in. Because if you find a 30-year-old full-serve car wash and it's either for sale or maybe it's closed, there's generally a reason it's for sale or for closed, because all the new business and all of the people have moved here, and now you got this car wash sitting over there. So it's very difficult to find an existing car wash that's on a good piece of property. Now, we tend to overpay for our property because, like I said, we want to be next to Chick-fil-A and we want to be next to Starbucks. That's expensive property. So we will buy existing car washes if we can find them. But if I tear down the existing car wash and rebuild it, it costs me the same amount of money as if I go build down the road where there's better traffic count.
The only other advantage is you take out a competitor, which is a good thing.
Yeah.
Sometimes a good thing.
If they're competitive.
Right. Anybody else? I know we're getting close on time.
I think I have a location for you.
Okay, give me that.
I'll let you know.
Always say location. Absolutely.
Awesome.
Yes.
Do you have any advice for smaller entrepreneurs who don't have a copious amount of startup capital?
Yeah, but I think most entrepreneurs started there. So, going back to my food service career, it was just, we sold a product. So now it's like, can we sell hot dogs and hamburgers? I don't know. We bought some, we tried it. If they didn't sell, we got rid of it. So what I do is when I go into any kind of business venture, I decide how much money am I willing to invest or spend. And then I want to monitor that to where if things are not going well, I want to know what my escape route is. So I don't want to walk in thing and throw down a big old chunk of money and say, I hope this works. So for smaller entrepreneurs, I say, do a little bit of trial and error and don't throw all your money, don't put all your chips in at one time. Just slowly build it, see what works, see what doesn't work. Because what you think worked may not, and what you never believed could work could happen. So that's my advice, is just build slowly and limit your losses, limit your investment.
Your exposure.
So you're not putting all your chips into one thing. Yes.
Again, going back to when you were doing the food service industry, would you say that your most efficient way of growing your business back then was the acquisition of other businesses?
For me, that was the fastest way, because as a poultry distributor, I really knew that my customers needed to buy produce. I didn't know anything about produce, but if I bought a local produce distributor now, overnight, I've got new customers, I've got new products, and I've got expertise in that business. So I could do it myself over a period of years and try to figure out how to be in the produce business, or I can go buy a produce company and overnight I'm in that business. So to me, that's how I was able to jump, 10% growth every year for multiple years versus 1 or 2% growth over multiple years.
And the interesting thing, and we'll wrap up with this, the interesting thing about market growth, there's really 4 ways to grow a business. One is to sell more of your existing product to the same customers. That'd just be people washing their cars more often. The second is to sell your same product but take it to another location, find new customers, and that's what we do in the car wash. We build new locations where we sell the same product to different customers. And then there's the other of adding new products, which you did in the food service, to sell to existing customers, product expansion. And then the fourth way to grow is to sell completely new products to completely new markets, called a new business. That's the same as a new business.
You think about the most profitable is selling more products to the existing customer, because in the poultry business, when I went to deliver poultry and I had 2 boxes I'm unloading, what if I was unloading 20 boxes? It costs us the same amount of labor, same amount of insurance, same amount of cost of the vehicle. And so I spent all this cost to get there to unload 2 boxes, and for an extra 5 minutes, I can unload 20. So that's where you really gain the greatest profit, is where you're getting more volume to your existing customers, particularly for such a small amount of incremental cost.
Mm-hmm. Your margins are higher.
Yeah.
So, looking at your 2 different graphs, one from the poultry business and then the car wash business, it looks to be roughly the same amount of time and a very similar curve.
Almost exactly.
On the poultry side, you said a lot of that is from acquisition. What do you attest to being?
New locations.
Just continually opening?
Trying to open two new locations a year. So if we can open 2 new a year, that puts us on the growth curve that we want to try to achieve.
So far, we've been on track to do that.
We're actually we opened 1 last year and we're opening 3 this year, so that gets us back to our 2 per year. Yes?
How long do you think that growth would have taken if you hadn't had a large base of capital to begin with?
There's different ways to finance things. I'll put it that way. I really specialize in making really weird offers to people when I buy their business. So, we negotiate, you tell me how much you want, and I tell you why that's too much and why I need to pay this. We negotiate a price. Now it's like, okay, I need to come up with X amount of dollars. So a lot of times you can do owner financing. I've done a lot of that, particularly if you've got an owner that wants to sell their business and retire. One good thing about retirement is, hey, what if I give you $2,000 a month? It's like, wow, $2,000 a month, that'd be great for retirement. And that's probably less than what I'd have to go borrow at a bank. So, when we first got into our first car wash, we're talking to multiple banks, we're talking to SBA, we're talking to friends and family. So, when we first got started in the business, trying to figure out how to finance it is always interesting, but it's not always, hey, I got to go to the bank and get a loan. There's a lot of different ways, and if you're buying a business, a lot of times you can negotiate a deal with the owner to do some kind of owner financing at a reasonable price. And that way you take the profits of the business that you're going to create and use that to make your payments. So, a lot of creative ways, and like I said, I've come up with some interesting things.
You're one of the best.
Any other questions? All right. Thank y'all very much for having me.